Hey, I'm Spencer Aronfeld, and welcome to the Trust Me, I'm a Lawyer podcast. With me, as always, is my co-host and our executive producer, Nory Aronfeld. Hey, Nory.
Hello, everybody. Welcome.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Big plans for the weekend?
Yeah, I'm going to Vero Beach.
Well, while you're up there, make sure you say hi to the president of the Florida Bar,
Yeah.
who was our guest on our last podcast. He's a tough act to follow, but I think we have probably one of the few lawyers who can actually follow the president of the bar. Erica Ramos is our guest today. Erica, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you.
So Erica, you bring to the podcast a unique perspective because you're a baby lawyer. This is your first year of practice.
Yes, it is.
How has it been for you as a first-year baby lawyer trying to, get out there during this horrific pandemic?
Well, I was fortunate enough to get employment prior to the pandemic. So I've been with my employer for 7 months, but it's been very challenging because I've had to be able to transition from being in work at the office to doing all my Zoom hearings on my computer. So it's been very interesting. I'm very lucky that I understand technology.
Yes, you are very lucky. It's such a crucial time in the development of a young lawyer, that first year of practice, the camaraderie with other lawyers, and the mentoring that you need from an experienced lawyer. How have you been getting that in a virtual way?
Well, my office does do lots of different types of meetings. We do team meetings. We're actually going to have a meeting today at 12 to go over case law and stuff. So we're still very active with each other and making sure that we're up to date on the law and that we know what's going on with our cases. So we've still been very proactive.
Nory, Erica is a dependency lawyer. Do you know what a dependency lawyer does? Well, why don't you find out?
What is it?
So I do dependency law, like you said, but I represent the parents. So I'm a defense attorney, and I try to ensure that the parents' rights are intact, that their constitutional rights, their due process is protected. It's also a bit of social work at the same time, because I have to make sure that they do their tasks, they know what's going on, they keep up to date. There's a lot of different parties that are involved. We have the guardian ad litem program that's involved, the judges, of course. Sometimes we have an attorney ad litem, plus us for one parent, and then another parent, they have their own attorney. So sometimes the courtroom is filled with like 10, 15 different types of lawyers.
Why dependency law?
So actually, funny story. So with dependency, that's not something they really teach in law school. Like they go over it, but it's not very in depth. And in the Florida bar, it was on the Florida bar for like a couple of years. And it wasn't like the area of practice that I was like, oh my God, that's what I want to do. But it is the area of practice that I feel like a lot of law students and lawyers should really look into, because it's the area where there's the most issues constitutionally. There's a lot of issues with things not going the way that it should, and parents and children in general, they need a lot of help. I mean, that's the foundation of society, whether it be a non-modern family or a modern type of family, whatever society deems as that. So in a sense, it's the area that has the most need. We build people, we get them before if they have a criminal record later on in life, we get them way before that, and sometimes they end up having a criminal case at the same time. So sometimes we have to do a criminal law. So I think there's a real need for this area. I think there's a lot of disparity. There's a lot of issues with those who cannot get proper representation. There's case law, but there's case law changing all the time. Things are happening all the time,
Erica, give us an example, a factual scenario of a typical case that you see.
Okay, so I've been fortunate to have clients that are very responsive, Unfortunately, some of my colleagues have not. But with my clients, I've had clients before who were trying to do the right thing.
But give us the facts The
Yeah.
paint a picture of what we're talking about.
Yes. So basically, one client tried to call the cops, right? She had a teenage daughter, and the teenage daughter was one that was already adopted out to her sister. And that teenage daughter kept coming back to the home. She kept coming back to the home under the influence of different substances. And the mother already had a 3-year-old child in the house. So she called the cops. And after everything happened, basically they took the 3-year-old too, even though it had nothing to do with the 3-year-old. It only had to do with the child that was already adopted out. That was not her legal daughter. So I have to say that that case did end happy. We were able to get reunification really fast. I worked really hard on doing mediation and trying to figure things out, because the family did need help in circumstances regarding like therapy, right? Because the mom, she was a recovering addict herself. So she still recognized that, you know, therapy and counseling and all of those areas are still pertinent to her family needs, you know? So she's still engaged in these services, but people like this, like sometimes what happens is that when CPI, which is the case protective investigators, come out, sometimes they don't know how to distinguish between one problem between another problem. Okay, so it's very hard, and it's a hard job for them because they're coming in, they're getting allegations that something's going on, someone complained, and so their best reaction was take both children, you know. And I can understand that as well, because you don't know what's really going on in that home, you know.
Are the majority of your clients private? Are you court appointed? How is it that people in these crises can retain you?
I am court appointed. It works like a public defender, but in dependency law is considered civil, even though I consider it to be like if criminal and civil had a baby, because we do have aspects of criminal law where we have arraignments, and our clients have 3 options: to deny allegations, to consent to the allegations, or to you know, agree to them, which of course I think if you have the right and you have the ability to fight it, you should deny and do what's best for your family, you
Are
know?
you working primarily out of Broward County, or are you in Miami? Where are you at?
I'm in Broward County. My office does have several offices because we are a state agency. So we have offices in Miami, we have offices in Palm Beach, and then there's offices like in Tallahassee and Tampa. We're all over the place, but they're under the direction of different directors. That's the only difference.
And so during the pandemic, apparently, you know, the courts are still going and you're still actively representing people. How have you actually been doing it during the pandemic?
It's been very difficult because my area of law is very sensitive. You know, you have to have a heart to be doing this, you know, and to feel for people. And what basically happens is sometimes parents are crying. I can't pat their shoulder or rub their shoulder or give them a tissue through the computer. So it's very hard to show that you're empathetic, you know, and that you feel for them and that you're going to fight for them. You know, all they can see is whatever legal jargon is going on and people are objecting and things are going back and forth. So it's been very difficult because you have to be able to make a personal connection with them. I mean, you learn about them through their medical history, through therapy notes, and the little bit of time that you get to speak with them. But how do you convey to them that I'm here for you too as a person? Like, I understand what you're going through, or even if I don't understand, I just want you to know that, you know, it's going to be okay. We're going to figure it out. It's very hard to translate.
Are these things, these proceedings being held in circuit court, or is there a special court that deals with dependency issues?
Well, we have a separate section, separate division. We have our own chief judge and everything. A lot of people automatically will think that it's family law, but it's not. It's like a subsect or specialty within there, you know? So I do report to a specific division. Like my office, we have like 5 or 6 different divisions. So their divisions have like a judge, either 1 GM, which is a general magistrate, or 2. So we are our own section.
Oh, it's a fascinating niche within a niche. You don't really, I've never met in 30 years of being a lawyer who does the kind of work that Erica does.
Wow.
Do you have any questions for her?
I do, because I've considered law, of course, to be
I should hope so.
a potential.
I need help.
Um, but having gone through law school and now being a lawyer, were your expectations, versus reality? How was that in terms of like the build up to finally you're a lawyer now, you can like decide and, analyze whether or not it was how you thought it would be?
I have to say that's great. I think you should totally go for law school. There's a lot of attorneys that will say, no, don't do it. I'm miserable. But I feel like if you get into law for the right reasons, for helping people and for actually trying to uphold the law, then I think that you're going to be fine, And I think that my expectations were like a little bit different. We all watch Law and Order and all these other items and stuff. And I'm a big fan of Law and Order, the 90s, okay, that version, because I don't care what anyone says, they actually quote legal jargon and they explain the law, okay, not the 2000s.
Okay. Didn't know if you
Yeah,
did-
not the 2000s. But I have to say, they don't tell you the reality of juggling stuff, I do apologize for my dog in the background. My dog just wants to talk. I think he thinks he's being interviewed. I don't know.
Our next guest.
Right? He is. Robbie, wait your turn. So, it's a lot more difficult, I think, with the aspect of clients, because you need to be personable. Okay, there's a lot of attorneys that they're great writers, they're great advocates in court, but if you can't connect with your client properly, you're not going to be the best advocate that you can really be, because it's all about service. We're serving others, we're serving our community as an advocate in court, or even if you do transactional work. So my expectation was a little bit different, because like for me, being that it's like a PD, like I knew I would get a bunch of cases, but I didn't know like what kind of people I was going to be dealing with. Sometimes I've gotten yelled at and I'm like, whoa, and
By
but then
clients or lawyers or judges or who's yelling at you?
by everybody. By everybody. It's a hot seat.
Break the law.
It is a hot seat. Okay.
It
And
is.
sometimes you get nervous. Your heart feels like it's going down where it shouldn't be going, But I think the most important thing to remember is to tell yourself, keep going. You've got this. It's okay. As long as you prepare yourself for your cases. I did learn from law school that adequate preparation is necessary. And I have to say, it is. It is. I'm not going to say I love reading cases every day, 24/7, but I have to say there's a lot of interesting case law out there, and it's necessary. It's very necessary. So even if you are someone who doesn't like to read, you can still be a lawyer, because as long as you have the best intentions and you're trying to advocate for your client properly within the limits of the law, of course, but then again, sometimes things change and you have appeals, and what the law said was something, it turns out they were wrong, So sometimes you can make history, which is pretty exciting. And in my area of law, my office is constantly making case law, constantly. We have appeals all the time, and we end up being able to, clients have termination of their rights, their rights have been terminated, and then all of a sudden they're back together again. Like obviously it's not like really fast, but it's just amazing how this area of law works. It's really very different than what I thought. Like I thought I was going to be dealing with more criminals or something, but that's not the case.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Nory?
Very much so.
Maybe you can be Erica's intern one day.
I'd hope so.
She followed me around for a day or two a couple of years ago, and afterwards she was like, that's it, I'm not doing this kind of work. But Erica, it's fantastic to see you. Thank you so much for the service that you're providing the community. I'm very, very proud of you, and stay safe and stay well. And thank you for joining us here today, and all of your good advice to everyone who's listening. What's that? I think we're
I have one thing to say. because you had the Florida bar president, right?
Yes, we
I
did.
think there should be, oh, you got me?
Yeah. What?
Okay, it's like a phone, like, okay. I just have one thing to say
Yeah,
that
sure.
I know you had the Florida bar president on, right? So I think there should be people advocating to put it back on the bar, because then what's going to happen is we're going to run out of lawyers in this area of law, you know?
When you say the bar, do you mean the bar exam?
The bar exam, I'm sorry. Yes, the bar exam. It was taken off the bar exam. And as much as I did not enjoy studying for it, it's so necessary. It's so necessary. And it's like criminal law, how there's a need for public defenders. There is a need for people in my area.
Well, that's
So-
great advice. Well, when we post his podcast, which should be sometime next week, make sure you put those comments on there. He's a very nice guy, very responsive. He's a wonderful guy, and his successor, who's the president-elect, is going to be a guest on our podcast coming up soon, and we'll make sure that we share your thoughts with her as well.
Oh yeah, definitely. Please. That would be great.
The great Erica Ramos, our guest today. Thank you so much for joining us. Nory, if people are interested in being thank you. Trust Me, I'm a Lawyer podcast, what's the best way to do it?
You could just email us at our email, trustmeI'mALawyerPodcast@gmail.com.
Fantastic. And if they want to, sponsor a podcast, what's the best way?
I would say you could communicate to us through the same email or like DM us through Instagram at Trust Me, I'm a Lawyer Podcast, and I'll respond and see.
Wonderful. Great guest today.
For sure.
Erica Ramos, thank you again so much. Be safe and have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good to see
Thank you. You too. Thanks, guys.
Good to see you.
Okay. Bye-bye.